Hi, I'm Orgonite and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making a treatment cone called Healing Mermaid. A treatment cone is a cone that has a special bottom with nubs on it so that you can give yourself a massage with it and break up the muscle fascia. It's a wonderful piece, and join me as we make it. Okay, to begin, I want to tell you what we're going to put in this piece. I ordered this special mermaid bead. It's a turquoise. It's a dyed turquoise, but it's a beautiful mermaid, and she's even got a tail on the back. And anyway, she's really beautiful, and I love using her in this piece. The type of piece we're going to make is called a treatment cone, and this is something that I came up with kind of by accident. It has nubs on the bottom of it so that you can use it to give yourself a massage to break up the muscle fascia and give yourself an orgone treatment. Animals love it too. And anyway, I know using the cone shape, this is a paper cone, and that's all we'll need for a mold. I know that's not new, but the way that I position the beads, we'll need 12 millimeter beads, specifically 12 millimeter, and you need 24 clear and cherry quartz. I also got out some of my mini sand dollars, and I have 3 mini starfish as well. I thought that might look pretty in this piece. I'm not sure how I'm going to fit that in, but I'd like to try. And for our stones, I have a mixture of Amazonite, cherry quartz, with a little bit of rose quartz. So I've already made this blend, and I thought it would look pretty with the mermaid bead. Also, for my metal, I'm using brass shavings. This particular kind is very, very fine. I normally like to use the more rustic shavings that you would get from like a key maker. I don't know what these are from, but they're just almost too fine. I'll still use them, but anyway, I just wanted to mention that. So why don't we get started? And with the cone mold, it doesn't take much resin to make this piece. So I need to be cognizant of that, and I may end up with extra resin that doesn't get used. So I'm going to start with 3/4 of an ounce. It may be too much, but I'd rather have a little bit too much than not enough and have to start over. Pour that in my mixing cup. And by the way, I use polyester casting resin for my resin. You can certainly use the epoxy resin for this piece. It will take you longer, but it's certainly doable. And I know it's a 2-part resin, and anyway, just use equal parts to get you 3/4 of an ounce. And whoops, I forgot my hardening drops. I'll be right back. Okay, I got my hardening drops, and I'm not sure what the recommended hardening drop use is. I just remember whenever I used the recommended hardening drops, it wasn't enough. So what I use, and what's worked for me for a long time, is I use 9 drops to start, and then 9 drops for every ounce thereafter. So with this being 3/4 of an ounce, I'm just gonna do about 15 drops. And we want to stir this really good, especially if you're using the epoxy resin. You want to stir that for at least 2 minutes. with the clear, with the polyester casting resin, you basically just need to stir it until it becomes clear. Perfect. That was a good amount. And so I'm just going to stick my mermaid bead in the mold. And I'm just going to let that harden, and I should be back in about 45 minutes to an hour to do our next layer. So join me then. So I decided that I wanted to put my starfish in here. I'm just gonna drop them in because they're so light, they're gonna float on top of the resin and they shouldn't sink down in it. So I put all 3 of my starfish in, and I'm dropping in a mini sand dollar. Make that 2 mini sand dollars. So hopefully this will be okay, and when we come back I'll add my first layer of gemstones. Okay, now it's time to pour our next layer of resin and add our gemstones. So for this, I probably won't need it all, but I'm going to pour 1 whole ounce for this. So with 1 whole ounce, I am going to add 9 hardening drops to start, and then 9 for the ounce. So that's 18 drops I'm going to add. While I'm at it, I just want to say, if you are worried about bubbles and you want to get after them, I recommend using a heat gun. You can also use one of those long lighters, but be careful not to set your resin on fire. If you're going to use the lighter, you know, make it quick passes over the top of your resin. But using the polyester casting resin, I really haven't had too many problems with bubbles, so I skip that step. I didn't pour all of my resin in there because I'm not sure if I'm going to use it all yet. So I used about 30 grams of gemstones, and I am going to let this sit and cure. And I'm not going to pour in the rest of my resin, so you probably could use a half an ounce or 3/4 of an ounce. I wouldn't use the whole ounce for this. Also, I'm making them in a layered fashion because the way Orgonite is made, it is made of layers of crystals, gemstones, and metals, and they help to filter out the EMF radiation coming from cell phones, Wi-Fi towers, and 5G technologies. So that's what Orgonite does, and we're just gonna, you know, follow the protocol to make that. And now we let it wait. So join me when I add the brass shavings. Okay, so it's time to finish this piece up. I am going to add about 3/4 of an ounce. That may be too much, it may be not enough. I don't know, we will see. Pour that into my mixing cup. And I'm going to add about 15 drops of hardener. Well, I poured the whole thing, but we may need some more. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to sprinkle in my brass shavings. Not too much, because we want to have room for our beads. And as the brass shavings are sinking down into the resin, I'm going to start my beads. This is the tricky part, to get these beads to fit right. Sometimes they push each other out of the way. You'll see what I mean. So we're just going to start adding them to the outer ring. We need 12 beads in the outer ring. Well, I only got 11, so I hope this doesn't mess it up, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep. It may mess everything up, but we'll see. So I'm adding my inner circle. And the inner circle fit 5, and we should be able to fit 1 in the center. It pops up a little bit, but that's going to be okay. And then I'm going to use my cherry quartz beads for my nubs. And those go between the middle and the outer ring. And that only needed 5. I don't know where you'll end up putting your beads. If you put them higher up, you may be able to get 12 in the outer ring, 5, and then 1. And then you add 6 of these outer, bottom outer beads, the pink ones. There's usually 6 of them, but today is a little different. So we have 11 in the outer ring, 5 in the middle ring, 1 bead in the center, and on top we have 5 of these beads, and they are enough in the resin that I don't need to add anymore. And I think that it's going to work just fine. It's a little different from what I have made in the past, but I think it will work just fine. So we are going to let that harden, and I'm just going to let it cure overnight, and we'll take the paper cone off tomorrow and sand it up, spray it with clear coat, and make it look really good. So stick with me, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. Join me. Hi, and welcome back. Our piece has finally cured, and now it's time to demold it. Before I do, I just wanted to show you how I keep my cone steady while I pour in the resin. I didn't really show this to you. I use just a small jar. I think this is like an 8-ounce jar. Maybe 12, I'm not sure. Probably 8. Anyway, the mouth of it just holds that perfectly steady. Anyway, the way to demold your Orgonite from the paper cone, you're going to want to put it in a bath of water and let it soak for a little bit, and then just start peeling this off. It's gonna take a little while to do this, and yeah, just start peeling it off as best you can, and then when you finally can't peel off anymore, go ahead and dry it, and then sand it. I prefer emery boards like this. I use these to help give me more control over what I'm sanding. I've used sandpaper. I prefer the emery boards much better. If you have sandpaper at home and that's what you'd like to use, please feel free to use whatever it is that works for you. You're going to want to sand the whole piece because there's going to be leftover paper bits all over it. So what I'm going to do is just soak it, peel it, dry it, sand it, and then I will be back and we'll clear coat it together and I'll show you what we came up with. Okay, so I have peeled all the paper off and I have sanded the piece. It's looks pretty frosty right now and it's hard to see anything that's in there, but we're going to spray it with clear coat, and when that dries, I think you'll like what it looks like. Right now I'm using Krylon Color Master Cover Max Clear, but any clear coat will work, I'm sure. Just spray it with a good coat of that, and we're just going to let that dry, and then I'll let you see the piece. Okay, so we have our finished product. We have the Mermaid. Maybe a little hard to see, it's kind of frosty, but in person you can tell what it is. And you can see the little starfish that are in there, the sand dollar, and the little starfish that's in the back. We've got our gemstone layer, and you can see the brass. And on the bottom we have our clear beads and the pink beads that are raised up. Those will be what you use to rub into your muscles to break up the muscle fascia. So I hope that, anyway, I hope that you liked this piece, and if you would like to make it, you know, please do so. I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It makes me super happy when you do that. Also, subscribe to my channel for more great Orgonite projects. I'm going to close this video with some pictures of other Orgonite projects on the horizon, and I look forward to making them with you soon. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to find out when new Orgonite products are released. This is Orgone Nick. Thanks for joining me in my Orgonite studio. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I just wanted to mention that I will leave several links in the description box for everything you'll need to make this piece.